This is Plant-Based Briefing, how one family lost 250 pounds and reversed disease by going plant-based, by Elysabeth Alfano at thebeet.com. And I'm your host, Marian Erickson, and this is the curated content plant-based podcast for people short on time but curious about plant-based and vegan living. And if you'd like to support the podcast, some of the best ways to do it are simply by sharing it with others or recommending it on your social media. Also, please be sure to subscribe or follow on whatever podcast listening app you use. And lastly, you can also shop for plant-based and vegan merchandise at plantbasedbriefing.com/shop, and a portion of those proceeds go to a local farm sanctuary nonprofit called Changing Hearts Farm. Today's article is from thebeet.com. They're a plant-based media platform offering information on plant-based food, health news, product launches and reviews, and expert advice. So now let's get to today's plant-based briefing. How one family lost 250 pounds and reversed disease by going plant-based, by Elysabeth Alfano at thebeet.com. During this time of the year when we all tend to overeat and need a little more health inspiration to recharge our healthy living goals, I wanted to share Stephanie Ignafo's story of extreme transformation. Together, she and her family lost a total of 250 pounds, and in doing so, they each managed to reverse their lifestyle diseases. More importantly, they gained newfound energy and healthy living resolve, all by switching to a whole foods plant-based diet. Stephanie and I have been friends for years. We are both Food for Life instructors with the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. We both have certificates in nutrition from the T. Colin Campbell Center for Nutrition Studies. We both give cooking and nutrition classes to groups and individuals, and we both can't stop talking about the benefits of eating plant-based foods for health and well-being. On this episode of Awesome Vegans, Stephanie Ignafo of Plantspiration LLC gets real. An excerpt of our conversation is below. Stephanie: in 2015, my daughter Haley was 15 at the time, and she came home from school and said, "Mom, I want to go vegan." And I said, "No way, worst idea in the world. You're going to die of protein deficiency. You're not going to have calcium." I truly believed that this was going to be the worst thing she could ever do. She had mentioned she was reading this book about people that didn't use animals. I understood the logic, so at that moment I backed her up on it. "All right, I'll go along with your bad diet." Then I went to the internet to search, how long can we live without eating meat? How long could we survive? Will she make it a week? Little did I know that not only can we survive, but we can actually thrive. So after John and I were finishing up what had been our 9th surgery in 11 months, I went back and I revisited that Forks Over Knives documentary that I'd come across while seeing how long my daughter could live. I sat my family down and, I thought we were healthy eating our lean chicken, eating our low-fat milk and our low-fat cheese. But after I watched this movie, I just realized here I was enabling these diseases. Here I was bringing the food in. I was making my husband overweight. I was helping my son with his childhood obesity. I was watching my girls struggle with energy and skin. I realized we were all being affected by what I was bringing home. So I went cold tofurkey, as they say, and I completely stopped bringing animals into the house. Altogether, we lost 250 pounds by accident, eating only plant foods. So 100 of that was mine. The rest was the rest of my family. It was a huge impact, and I couldn't stop talking about it after that. I felt like everybody should know that this is awesome. I had tried everything. Nothing had worked like this. All the other diets I'd tried, maybe I had lost a couple of pounds here and there, but my entire life I had been obese. I had just found what worked, and it didn't just help me lose weight. It helped me reverse diseases, and it's easy. I've kept it off easily 3 years later. The whole family, we're still cranking the plants. Elizabeth: I love this story because you are every mom in America. You start thinking, what? My kid's gonna die. That's just crazy talk. But then it always helps to have a teenage daughter. They're so very convincing. So you say, okay, fine, I'll follow you on a lark for 2 weeks. I'll be a supportive mom. And then lo and behold, you find 250 pounds later that your kids have more energy, their skin is better, and you're reversing lifestyle diseases. Stephanie: here we're living the standard American life. We're getting older, we get bigger, we get sicker. Isn't that the way we think this goes? Well, I'm here to tell people that's not the way it goes. Elizabeth: Yeah, I say that all the time too. You are here to take back your health. People think this is sort of a rite of passage. We get older, so we get sick. No, it does not have to be that way. In fact, you can take back not just your health, but your youth. I mean, I've always had a lot of energy, but in many ways I felt like, oh my gosh, I've got this newfound lightning bolt in my step. But my health had been kept from me. Stephanie, it really was. Nobody told me about this. Nobody explained I could be eating all that I want. I didn't have to restrict. I didn't have to count. I didn't have to measure. I didn't have to weigh. This was glorious. We were waking up every day and the scale was actually moving, and it didn't stop. It's like eating plants took us to where we should be. Elizabeth: Naturally, which is what I love. For the full interview, click the link here. Elysabeth Alfano is a plant-based business consultant and helps people transition to a plant-based diet. You can follow her at Elysabeth Alfano on all platforms. You just listened to How One Family Lost 250 Pounds and Reversed Disease by Going Plant-Based by Elysabeth Alfano at thebeet.com. And I'm Marian Erickson, your host of Plant-Based Briefing, and this is such an inspirational article. When I first learned about whole food plant-based eating, and more importantly, how bad meat, dairy, and eggs are for you, I was shocked. I was blown away. Like, why don't we know this stuff? Well, there are very good reasons, and they all revolve around money and power with big ag and big pharma. And like Dr. Greger says at nutritionfacts.org, all those industries have to do is sow a tiny bit of confusion, and then consumers throw up their hands and say, I don't know what to believe anymore, so I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. It's straight out of the big tobacco playbook from decades ago. As always, I put a link to the original post in the show notes, and from there you can see the full interview if you're interested. And I'll also put a link to Forks Over Knives, the documentary. I highly recommend everyone watch that. And there are tons of other great whole food plant-based documentaries as well. Maybe I'll list several of them in there. So feel free to check those out. Please share this episode with anyone who might benefit, and thanks for listening.